Okay, so my first video went on a little long. I'll try to keep this one a little bit shorter. Um, this video is just basically to quickly talk about the fact that the reason why people don't care or try harder to make the world a better place is largely because of what we value. What do we value? We value, where we basically, most of the time, people are incapable of usurping their instinctual levels of thought, or animal-like levels of thought, their id, with a more enlightened sense of thought that considers, more than the larger picture, that considers what it means to be enlightened, that considers making personal sacrifices for others, that considers, how ugly a place the world can be when people are only acting selfishly. That's not what... basically, when you get paid money, that money is all about... is not so much about... it's about... You make money for sort of... it doesn't require you to be ethical in any way, shape, or form to make money. People who have the most money are not the most ethical people on earth. Most people can agree on that. They talk about philanthropy. Well, most of the richest people in the world are only doing philanthropy so they can get a tax break, or so that they don't look as bad to the hordes of people who aren't getting paid nearly as much. They need to look like they're philanthropic, because if they don't, then they know that there will be a revolution. So, this is all part of their plan. I'm not trying to say there's a group of, I'm not trying to say that there's the Illuminati or anything like that, but I'm just saying that, you don't have to be ethical to have a lot of money, and there's no rule by which people who have more money generally are more ethical or conscientious. If anything, I'd say it's the opposite. Being rich is kind of about figuring out how the game is played and then taking as many shortcuts and pulling as many favors, sort of convincing other people to follow your own plan for your own success. It's about being persuasive. It's about being manipulative. Getting ahead is about knowing how to cheat and the rules a lot of the time. It's about learning what the rules are and then playing them to your advantage. And really, again, playing them in a way that gets other people to make sacrifices for you. So... basically, that's what money's about. Yes, it rewards hard work to some extent, but there are people who are at the bottom of the ladder who aren't making a lot of money, who are working every bit as hard as people at the top. I've seen them myself. I work with some of them. If it was just a matter of hours put in, hours put out, money is not an accurate reflector of who is putting in the most hours. I really don't think it is. So, that to me is the big problem with humanity is, the biggest incentive we're given, which is really just now, used to be represented by gold, which also, there's nothing ethical about being somebody who has the most gold. You see the way that the gold miners of the 1840s ravaged the land to get gold, or the way they're ravaging the land in Alaska now to find gold. Obviously, that there's nothing ethical about finding gold either. But we've gone from one thing that requires nothing ethical from people, one form of currency that requires no ethics from people, that being precious metals and such, to a piece of paper whose value is defined by, I guess, people who once held all the gold or their descendants, by a group of powerful people that have power just because of inertia more than anything. So, that's money is just now this piece of paper that everybody wants. They don't know why they want it, but they'll do anything to get it. They don't care if they have to screw up the environment to get it. They don't care if they have to screw over their fellow man to get it. there's no rules about getting money. If you can get money, I mean, you're not supposed to rob a bank, but you know what? If you can rob a bank and get away with it, I'm sure most people would go for that. You can win the lotto. It doesn't require any actual work to win the lotto, but everybody wants to win the lotto. It doesn't say anything about you if you win the lotto, but it's a way to get money. And nobody cares how you get money. They just know that that's the important thing. Once you have money, you can create a better situation for yourself and for your genetic legacy. Again, most of the basics of life, the instinctual side of life, is just based around creating a strong genetic legacy. And really, there's no greater meaning for why that is. It's just it's inbuilt into us. We can't help it. So, my idea is, this currency as it stands now is just, all it does is play into our base instincts, All fighting for dollar bills amongst each other does is reinforce our animal nature. And that's, I think, the biggest problem. I think that's why we have so many issues. I think that's why we're screwing up the planet. I think that's why people care about each other less and less as the years go by. That's why we're in even continually more of a dog-eat-dog world. And that's why we need a currency based on ethical behavior, or love, you could even say. I don't want to say love because it's got a lot of weird connotations around it, but essentially you'd want a currency based on self-sacrifice for the good of the whole. And that's what I'd like to see. Imagine every time you stopped your car to help somebody out who had a flat or whose battery was dead, that you received some kind of incentive for that, And they say, oh, well, a good deed is its own reward. Well, in life, it's really not its own reward. In life, doing good deeds keeps you from acting in your own self-interest. And acting in your own self-interest is the only thing that makes you money, not making sacrifices for other people. But, imagine a world where, every time you went out to eat and you had leftover food, that you packaged it up and brought it to homeless people, that there was some kind of monetary reward for that. Wouldn't that be nice? Or imagine a world where, not monetary reward, see, this is why it's hard to describe, because everything is sort of based on the old method. But really, it's not a monetary reward, I should say. Imagine there was some kind of automatic kind of respect or prestige, just like there is respect and prestige when you have cash money in the modern world. Instead, let's imagine you got the same respect and prestige when you made sacrifices for other people. Let's say you worked especially hard. Let's say to find a proper recycling bin for your glass bottle. You didn't just throw it in the trash. Imagine there was some kind of currency that could reflect that care, or a currency that could reflect you being in the Peace Corps, and or the any of these social organizations that go out and try to build cheap housing for people to live in, or try to ensure clean water to citizens that don't usually have access to clean water, or people who help to try to cure waterborne diseases, or people who stand up for the rights of workers, or protest against things that are unjust, or work to stop large corporations from ravaging the planet in the name of profit, or legislators who stand up for what's right instead of what will get them the most votes, or what will get the companies in their district the most profits. This is what we need. Stuff we need to reward. There has to be some kind of currency for good deeds, and good deeds alone, not just for hard work, not just for knowing how to play the game. We need a reward for behaving well, for not leaving your kids, or for even not getting a divorce, for making relationships work, or, then there has to be, we have to create rewards for doing the things that anyone would say is, for spending time with the elderly who are alone, or being a big brother or big sister, or being, I mean, like in the Big Brother Sister program, or, being a mentor, or there's so many things, that for creating even, creating businesses or technologies that are specifically with the goal of solving some of the major problems that humanity is facing. There has to be a currency that competes with the standard currency, that gives you the same amount of prestige and benefit as standard currency does. And until this ethical currency exists or replaces, I'd say it could probably exist along with regular currency, because regular currency does reward hard work, and there is some merit to hard work. But only the right kinds of hard work. And I'd like to see an ethical currency running side by side, something that could be used in the same sort of way as money. That's only given for personal sacrifice. And that doesn't apply to rich people who give money as a philanthropic cause in order to write off their taxes, because that's not really philanthropic. We're talking about true philanthropy, talking about true selflessness. And if this currency were to come into existence, I guarantee you the world will start improving immediately. People will start treating each other better. People will want to be better, maybe only for this currency, but at least to start people on that path, to start people thinking about how, there can be a reward for good behavior. That's something that the world needs, because right now, behaving in an ethical way, the reward is only within the act itself, and there's just not enough benefit to the individual. You end up losing on opportunities, having less time to work for yourself when you're working for other people, and there needs to be something that can compensate for that. That makes ethical behavior more than just its own reward, but a reward in the greater sense also. And once that happens, we're going to start seeing a better planet, and everyone will love each other just a little bit more. That's how I like to think about it anyway.